Shri Namo Dhamma Shri Soha Namo Manju Shri Namo So Shri Namo Dhamma Shri Soha Namo Manju Shri Namo So Shri Namo Dhamma Shri Soha Set a good motivation for the sake of all sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For this purpose, I'm going to listen to the holy teachings and practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings.
Oh yeah, okay now. That's it. Yeah, I don't know me about it. So, no, I'm going to think so.
Yes. So I'm not going to teach as much. So I assume that you have many questions. So I will give a brief something to explain to you. Then we'll go straight to question and answer.
The cussing of the day, says about the Mamindas of the Machi. The Dominus of the Kanda, Kanda, the Dame Kara, the Karachi, says about that Taji Ramachi, Tumba, the Dame Ravada, also Ranja to be the Tumba. What? This is
yeah, so previously we talked about, previously I didn't mention about the selflessness asserted by Madhyamaka. So selflessness of person, there are two, coarse and subtle. So the coarse one is, because yeah. So the coarse selflessness of person asserted by Madhyamaka is person's emptiness of permanent, partless, and independent. And the subtle selflessness of person is person's and so the subtle selflessness of person is a person's emptiness of self-sufficient, substantially existent. And Madhyamaka asserted the subtle and yeah. Madhyamaka asserted coarse and subtle selflessness of person as emptiness. Then Madhyamaka assertions on the subtle selflessness of person is empty of establishment by way of its own character as a referent of a conceptual consciousness apprehending it. So this is the first one. So empty of establishment by way of its own character, as a referent of a conceptual consciousness apprehending it. So this is one of the this is asserted as subtle selflessness of also emptiness of duality of subject and object. Emptiness of duality of subject and object is also a subtle selflessness of phenomena, and also emptiness of external object. Emptiness of external object is also asserted as the subtle selflessness of phenomena.
그게 참여해서 라바시로 되는 데 동안에 그렇지 있다면 라바시.
라바디.
라바디로.
And the cause selflessness of phenomena is the emptiness of external objects. Emptiness of external objects that are collections of bliss particle. Emptiness of external objects that are collections of bliss particle. So emptiness of external objects that are collections of partless particle is asserted as the cause selflessness of phenomena.
어디 가식 주도를 대응할 그것이 되어서 이거야. 어디 맞이를 들어와. 그거는 스틸레데 근데 맞은 리스와 주지시대 좀 같이 주시대 주지시대 좀 시고에서 리스와 니 미바서와 이기라 미바 넘버는 이기라 미 따도 마다 가요 시 남비들이 넘버 지지 와
넘버디 건다
넘버디
군실라 미니
넘버는 이기라 미네 따도 마다 가요 남비 넘버 지지 가요 너무 일다 좋아 지지기는 너무 지지는 리스와 주지시대 리스.
So in one of in previous class, lumbering class, then there was a questions about the afflicted mind. So the question is actually related. The questions exactly is related to the neutral pride. So then it's related to afflicted mind. So to explain to give explanations to that questions. So I would like to talk about the afflicted mind that we have covered before. So afflicted mind has 4 features or 4 attributes. And the first one is objects of observation. The first feature is objects of observations. So afflicted mind observe basis of all. Afflicted mind observe basis of all. So basis of all is the objects of observations for afflicted mind. And the subjective aspect or the aspect itself is afflicted mind has the aspect of so having observed basis of all, it has the aspect of thinking. It has the aspect of always thinking about having observed the basis of all, it has the aspects of thinking it as I and mine. So having observed basis of all, it has the aspect of thinking it as I and mine. And its nature is obscure and neutral. You need to loma de inda ne ko ya loma de ro.
Ako ni baba ina kichonda yogo wa. No to kankuma wa. Ma yo sta tikka da kankuma ga tan. Ma ta ma chonda.
You need na de kankuma la yo de su kuma yo.
Kankuma la yo wa sinda ka da di loma de ko do na da. Ni ko de kida. Cha.
Ni wa yo ma. Kankuma la yo res. Ini di migiwa yo ma. You need the migiwa.
Ni de ko yo ma ra kankuma. 어디로서 다 니디요와
음.
여자는 니 곧 정말 요거로 그래서 그다 와 여자 니 거를 뒤도 뭐 식으로
니디 로마데레 미게와 마레스.
모듈 뭐더라
Yeah, so in the room class, I wasn't sure about the translation. So I said some like neutral objects of duration. So however, that is not the correct translation. So the correct one would be obscure and neutral. Obscure and neutral. So that is the third feature, nature. And the fourth one is its accompanying factor. So its accompanying factors are the 5 omnipresent factors and also 4 root afflictions. The 4 root afflictions are attachment, ignorance, pride, and view of self. So that is where the questions come in, the neutral right. So since this afflicted mind is obscured and neutral, so its nature is neutral. Therefore, its accompanying factors, even these 4 root afflictions, they are mental as well. So the accompanying factor, such as pride, is also a neutral one. So then, therefore, therefore the neutral pride comes in. So, and this afflicted mind exists in higher realms. So afflicted mind exists in higher realms, and this afflicted mind is a neutral one. So there is no non-virtue there. 한국말라 미개와 요마로. 한국말라 미개와 요. 미개와 레어베. 미개와 요마레 람나데 미개와 요마. Oh, yeah. So there is no non-virtue in higher realms.
어디지 당어서 쓴다면은 개치주 가르치 자고 그랬으나 진리수도 개치 뭐 자고 그래 신화 연구 끝다서 들어와 신자면은 나무 간다 이번 집다와 띵나 피야 어야기 또 다시 지시자래 진리수도 나셔도 들어와 몇들은 지시해요 와
진리수도 남셔야돼 도도로
진리수도 들려 맞는 뜻이 봐야 되지 와 지다 와서 개치 뭐 자서 같이 뭐 지시자래요
Yeah, so in Chitta Matra school, these 3 characters or 3 natures is a very important topic of discussions in Chitta Matra school. So I have mentioned it already. So I would like to.
그러니까 신자분은 어디 분에서 다 신자분은 또 여도면도 이차가 어디 분에서 신자분 공개가 되와 어디 분이 한 어디 분에 나올때 대강제 원님에 봐 시송자 요래서 거다 어디 분에 나올마 와 띠박에 사직이 최단지 원님에 봐래 다 신자분으로 나와 신자분이 어디 원님에 봐 송자래 아 최단지 원님에 봐서데 다 가르라 보내 원님에 봐 나오 요래서 단다 들어와 최단지 원님에 봐서 나야 돼 다 가르라 보내 무시 가르라 보내 원님에 봐서 나오 요래서 예 시바이나다 디스워리 ам 최단지 원님에 봐서 와라 아 뭔가 진행 원님에 봐서 나오 진행 원님 뭔가 저 원님 용도 대마 된다면 원님에 봐 어디서라 상황하니 무시 대수로 보는데 간다 최단지 원님에 봐서 나와 미스 나와 레스고 간다 와 그래서
디시원디 개와로
원님 어디 보내야 간다 최단지 원님에 봐서 나자 레스와 예수님 레스고 어디 보내면 진짜 최단지 원님에 봐서 나야 돼 그래서 언제 돈이 되면 센다버는 최단지 원님에 봐서 송고 이제 가르이나 하시 내가 지지 제일이 지지들이 왔다 최단지 원님에 봐서 송바데 나 가르 공부 있으나 시원제와 원님 군다 진행 원님 용도 된다만 원님 어디서도 받자니 대선은 많이 비싼다면 최초로 요마로 그래서 많이 봐 대선 대선 봐 그다 진행 원님 시원제와 원님 용도 된다만 원님에 봐 그가 상황단에 최단지 원님에 봐서 송말이 그래서 와
And the source of reference, the main source of reference for Chitta Matra is Sutra, Unraveling the Intention Sutra, right? And in this sutra, Buddha said, all phenomena are lack of entityness. So what does it mean by all phenomena are lack of entityness? Is all phenomena are included in 3 three natures or three characters, right? And the three characters or three natures are imputed, the imputed, the other power, and the thoroughly established. So these are the three characters or three natures. So all phenomena are included in these. So these three are lack of entityness. So is the intention or is the meaning of the Buddha's intention, the saying all phenomena are lack of entityness. So the imputed lacks the entityness. The imputed lacks the entityness of character. And the other power lacks the entityness of production. And the thoroughly established lacks the entityness of ultimately entityness. So because of these, therefore, when they search for the meaning of these statements, all phenomena are lack of entityness, and this is what they understand. Why Buddha said that all phenomena are lack of entityness.
Mida de number Shabbat, yes, Kunta Tini, Punirua, Yushun, Mida de number Shabbat, yes, Rua, Mida number Shabbat. Russian is around Siniji, and Mavibi, sitting one in the somebody, yes, but Kunta sitting one in the Basra and the condition that Kunta de Dushun, Mida de number Shabbat, that Gashun, yeah, Rabbit Siniji, sitting one in the Basra, yes, Rua.
So the imputed lacks the entityness of character. So why do they say that the imputed is why the imputed lacks the entityness of character is because from the positive side, from the positive side, because it is merely which is merely which is preceded by the Mingtang De Shabbat is merely So from the positive side, then it is merely imputed by names and terms, or preceded by name and terms. And then from the negative side, because it lacks the establishments of by way of its own character. It lacks the establishment by way of its own character. So this is from the negative side. From the positive side, it is merely preceded by names and terms. So because of this, they say the imputed lacks the entityness of character. Kunda de ni di tobi da zam je, ene namki me to yan di tobi da wa zam je, wa zam ma da de nang shi ni kunda de yan tobi da wa zam je. And this imputed, so the imputed like sky in a flower is merely imputed by is merely imputed by is merely imputed by the conceptual consciousness. It's merely imputed by conceptual consciousness. So similarly, this imputed is also merely imputed by the conceptual consciousness. And this imputed that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist at all. So imputed exist. So, and how it exists merely imputed by conceptual consciousness.
다 근다 되죠. 근다 진행 원인이 뭐 다 가서 배다 제 먼저 사와지로 와. 이제 시원다. 시원 지와 원인이 봐 되게 로사라고 와. 시원 지와 원인이 먼저 다 배잖아. 얼마 크지. 대우시 얼마도 그래서 데모와라 대우시 땅나도 너무 봐. 얼마 그지 대우시 땅나도 받쳐서 데모와 저 대우시 땅나도 너무 지미가도 미래대로 와. 지미가도 미래에서 데모하게 땅나 너무 요. 땅와 나시 이미 땅나도 너무 말와. 다 때가 나시 때때 나시 되나. 내가 다 들어가 쉬고 근데 시원한테 주로 대화도 좀 만난 거리 예스. 봐. 영화대 다 가다 주로 대화도 좀 만난 거리나. 주로 대화도 좀 만난 거 아세요? 이 나시. 저 대화도 좀 말이스. 뭐그래. 나와는 다 된다. 저 대화도 좀 말이스. 그래. 그래서 시원 들어와.
And the second one is other powered. So other powered ranks the entityness of productions. So then the example for this is, no, not the example. So it is like a magicians. So conjures, how's it using bubbles, twigs, sticks, and etc. And conjure, how's it, elephants and horse. So they use the ingredients of pebbles and stick, and then conjure a horse and elephants out of it. So it doesn't exist as it appears, even though the viewers see horse and elephants, right? However, horse and elephant doesn't exist as it appears. So similarly, this other power, it appears to be established as an external object. However, it doesn't exist as it appears. So it doesn't exist as an external object.
나 경화 싫어 되도 좀 봐놔야 싫어 되도 맞도 버리 아 경화 써야 돼 그럼 지진을 좀 깨버리나 너무 지워도 그래서 더 지워 원이면 영화들 랑 지진을 좀 깨봐 이자 너무 지워 원이면 그래서 와 영화이 지진을 맞더라 뭐 지워 원이면 그래서 영화 지워 원이면 뭐 사고로 와 영화들 랑 지진을 좀 깨봐 이자 다 영화이 지워 원이면 그래서 영화이 지워요 그래서 와 영화이 지워면서 영화이 지워 원이면 그래서
Yeah, so other power produce from its cause and conditions, and it lacks the entityness of being produced by its own power. Therefore, we say the other power lacks the entityness of productions.
리사로 뭐 되시로 내가 저때 용도인다
Còn là để quân ta để sinh gì ngôn gì mấy bảo rồi là chỉ đang đi cả chỗ này đi thì cái gì
chỗ nó bị nó bị sao ta những cái chỗ nó chính
cái gì sinh gì mà cho bảo trong đó đi thì quân ta để nên sinh ngôn gì mấy bảo thì là yeah. So the previous one is that the imputed lacks the entityness of character, right? So from the negative side, because from the negative side, it lacks the so it doesn't establish by way of its own character. Therefore, the imputed therefore the imputed lacks the entityness of character. So the imputed lacks the entityness of character. So from the negative side, because it doesn't exist or it doesn't establish by way of its own character.
What is? 아주 용도셔다. 아 용도셔다. 용도 간다면 원이 배워서 쉬어야게. 그것이나 용도 간다면 원이 배워서 용도게. 대다게 원이 배워서 가도 안 붙이는 거야. 용도게 대다게 원도 요 말해서 뭐요 말해서 용도게 간다면 원이 배워서 용도와.
최다.
아샤 최다. 아샤 최다 뭐 마두비 간다면 원이 배워서 용도게. 아샤 최다 뭐 마두비 맞아 최다 뭐 마두 최다 뭐 마두비 yes. Yeah.
And the thoroughly established lacks the entityness, lacks the ultimately entityness. So because the objects of negation, which is the self of phenomena. So the nature of self of phenomena doesn't establish. So because of this, then the thoroughly established lacks the ultimately entityness.
용도도 배에 간다. 용도 내가 뭐 원이 뭐 배에 뭐讲거. 요즘 남가다라고 예스페이지 자루와 마도로 하기 잡고 준세 가서는 남가더니 바샤 토레 뽑아서 남가서 가서 근데 바샤 토레 가서 지루와 남가서 왜 시리 계속 소로와 바샤 또 남가 토레 바샤 까봐서 이시 바샤 까봐서 대신 쇼 강가를 쳤대요와 나가디 쇼 강가를 쳤대요와 쇼 강가라 바샤 토레 뽑아서 와 어디 쇼 강가를 쳐봐 나시 아 용도 잡으라 바샤 그다 까봐다 용도서 가서 가자 치지 다 까봐 까비 예 아차게 똥바들이 용도서 와 요르데 가자 쳐다 까봐다 그래서 진짜 까봐데 이게 거기로 좀 내렸다
예, 최다 값에 까봤잖아.
치다 까봐다
최다
쳐다
까봤다면 용도로.
와 쳐다 까봤는데 진짜 탄체라 요랬어 이게 가자 치다 보다 까해서 와지 너 말와 치다 요 말와 시 정말 치다 까해와 까봐 나시 가자 쳐다 뭐데 뭐도 기다가 뭐디 내가 근데 this part 와 가자 쳐다게 예 나다래 가자 쳐다가 까봐서 이게 가자 쳐다 이게 나 까봐 시작 정말 잡대요 나디 시작 정말 잡대요 와 어디 난가데 가자 들까지 까봐데 관계가 잡대요 와 내가 나시 내 나시 대해서 요르데 가자 쳐다 까봐서 나 시작 관계가 잡대요 그래서 이게 무슨다 가자 쳐다고 뭐 맞도 봐 그래서 내가 시고로 와 근데
And the thoroughly established is like the space. So space is a mere negations of obstructive contact. It's object of negations, right? And it pervades all directions. So that is space. So space is a mere negations of obstructive contact, which is its object of negations. And space pervades all directions. So similarly, the thoroughly established is a mere negations of self of phenomena. So this mere negations of self of phenomena is a thoroughly established. And the thoroughly established pervades all objects of knowledge.
정말 진리스에 막달라고 도도를 리시서와 진리스는 맞아 다도 발로기 그거 진리 뭐니 봐 정말 지와 뭐니 봐 오늘 내가 뭐니 봐 다도 상다 지와 정말 저 뭐니 봐 저기 리시서와 정말 지와 뭐니 봐서 가는 로도 그 상다 다 근데 진리 뭐니 봐 가는 로도 그 상다 아 오늘 내가 뭐니 봐 가는 로도 다 리시서와 내가 모두 배송다.
Yeah, so basically these are the three characters. So the first one is imputed, lacks the emptiness of character. The second one, the other power lacks the emptiness of productions. And the third one, the thoroughly established lacks the ultimately emptiness. So these three. So when you think about it, so you recall, try to recall the explanations of each of these three characters, then you will better understand it.
나들이서 가서 제니스 모델 최신의 때도 가서 제니스도 가진 거 가서 지슈해 봐. 센자블로 제니스 나게 땡라 배우고 그거 진짜 가서는 엄만 이제 땡라 봐야지.
나고나 얘가.
제니스도 나셔야 돼. 그러니까 제니스 나셔야 돼. 시고에 이제 가서는 엄만 이제 땡라 봐야지. 그래서 되는데 그러와 다 동반 이제 땡라 봐야지. 송자 제니스 나셔야 돼. 송마. 그래서 그러와 가서 쉬어 봐. 아무도 지로와.
And for Chitta Matra, they say the purpose of presenting the presentations of three characters is for the sake of ascertaining the meaning of emptiness.
나디선장 가서 같이 쉬어 봐. 나게 땡라 그 동반 땡라 반 포고에 사람 담아이나 동반 땡라 보아라. 그러니까 시원데 우시 동반 땡라 버서게 동시대 시원시. 아, 동시대 시원시. 맞아. 군다시. 그러와. 가셔야 군다. 다 군다 가샤 되게 똥바디 다 용도시 가샤 되게 똥바와 가샤기 똥 가샤 되게 똥바디 용도시 대 용도시 와 다대 뭐 당부 찍잘 두시로와 시원대 동시 오늘 때랑 그냥 동시들와 이번 때랑 보다가 동시 그러와 동시대 시원치 다 동시 되게 때도 동번이 그냥 똥바라 가샤지 가고와 대 가샤대 다 동시 되게 같이 군다시 다 용도 돈이 가르스나 다 군다 되게 또 맞으러 와 군다 되게 또 받이 무엇이
군다기 동마야 가샤기 동마.
가샤 군다가 또 받으와 가샤 군다가 또 받다 이거 누래.
Yeah. So how's it? The purpose of presenting the purpose of presenting the presentations of three characters is for the sake of ascertaining the meaning of emptiness, right? So how to ascertain the meaning of emptiness through the presentations of three characters? So we talk about the three characters are the imputed, the other powered, and thoroughly established, right? So the other powered is the basis of emptiness. Other powered is the basis of emptiness, and the imputed is the object of negation. So the empty of the object of negations, or the empty of the imputed one, then is the thoroughly established. The empty of object of negations, or empty of the imputed, is the thoroughly established.
뭐 다 대수는 가서 담아 빼셔야 가서 수부기라 마자니 쉐우로와 다 수부기라 마샤 쉐우리 가서 수부기 낀다 수부 낀다 마지 쉐우리로와 다 수부 낀다데 다 수부기 낀다데 근다 수부 가서 수부 수부 뭐라 카베 낀다 지다 수부 체발았다데 낀다서 낀다 니레 버다 간다 와 수부 뭐라 카베 낀다 수부 체발았다데 낀다서 니레 버다 다 간다 수부 뭐라 카베 낀다다 체발았다데 낀다니나 다 수부 뭐라 카베 낀다데 다 수부 히비다지 비신 바데 비신 바다 수부 수부 뭐라 카베 낀다 이제 바데 수부 히비다지 비신 바데 수부 뭐라 카베 낀다 와 이제 바데 뭐라 낀다 나 수부기 찌와 제 수부기 찌와 히비다지 비신 바데 다 수부기 체발다 다세 아주 수부기들 막 보다 내습을 그래서 제로와
So to give you an example for this the identity 수봉기 군다로. Yes, to give you an example of these three characters. So then the example is form aggregates. So the first one is the imputed of form aggregates, or the imputations of form aggregates. So the imputation of form aggregates is divided into two. Imputation is an imputation of nature, and imputation that is an imputation of attributes. So then you can join these to the example form aggregates. Then it becomes imputation that is an imputation of entity of form aggregates, and imputation that is an imputation of attributes of form aggregates. So this is divided into two. Imputation that is an imputation of entity. Imputation that is an imputation of attributes. So the imputation that is an imputation of entity of form aggregate is the forms aggregates. Forms aggregates being the basis of affixing the term form aggregate. So I repeat, form aggregates, apostrophe S, being the basis of affixing the term form aggregate is the imputation that is an imputation of entity of form aggregates. And productions of form aggregates being the basis of affixing the term productions of form aggregates is the imputation that is an imputation of attributes of form aggregates. So I repeat, productions of form aggregates, apostrophe S, being the basis of affixing the term productions of form aggregate is the imputation that is an imputation of attribute of form aggregates.
다 수부기 낀다데 가서 뭐라 낀다베 낀다 제발 낀다베 낀다 니레고리 그때 니레고리 가서 수부 내가 이렇게나 법이 아샤 낀다 세와데 수부지 단지 민주랑 게 진지 봐서 수부랑 또 비시랑 게 진지 봐서 네 자고다 쇼다 슈지로와 수부기 시원데 다 수부기 시원데 되시아고다 시원데 또 수부기 다이지 뭐 포테스나 다 간다 수부 보라
수봉이 다시.
수부 다이지 뭐 포테스 와데 수부 하래 와 다 간다 치바 수부기 시원서 와데 수부기 다이지 뭐 포테스 수부기 다이지 뭐 포테 어디 that is 수부기 시원해.
Yeah. So the other power of form aggregates is the functioning thing that is the basis of imputations of form aggregates. the functioning thing that is the basis of imputation of form aggregates. So basically, it refers to the form aggregates itself. So that is the other power of form aggregate. And the thoroughly established of form aggregates is forms aggregates apostrophes, form aggregates non-establishment by way of its own character as a referent of a conceptual consciousness apprehending it. I repeat, form aggregates apostrophes a non-establishment by way of its own character as a referent of a conceptual consciousness apprehending it. So this is the thoroughly established of form aggregates. So the forms aggregate establishment by way of its own character as a referent of a conceptual consciousness apprehending it is the imputed of form aggregates, which is the objects of negations. Supong kasa rangjin tobe shenshi rangi tsengi ki duba de gaja kunda de supong ki kunda ro. Supong ki
tomba ni gaja kunda. Oni topala.
Toni topala. Gaja kunda. Gaja kunda. Gaja kunda dan supong ki kunda de jao yo maro.
Supong ki kunda res na digu digu.
Gaja kunda. Yeah, kanda de gaja res. Yeah. So in order to understand or realize the meaning of emptiness, then one has to negate its germ negation, which is forms aggregates establishment by way of its own character as a referent of a conceptual consciousness apprehending it. So when you then the forms aggregates non-establishment by way of its own character as a referent of a conceptual consciousness apprehending it is the thoroughly established of form aggregate.
That thing also that I think somebody not teach and that is so teaching much our Sugula Jabanashi, that Kumbo Hama Tamala, the Hana Jactua, Kumbo Hama, the Tamala, Sugula Jabanashi, some in the Dakanda, when you want to do that, she wanted to channel to share this what you but Jaris, Lama Chandala,
Kumbo Hama.
That's so it will give you the number of you are, what the Tadla Jaris.
So this is an example of three characters of form aggregates, right? So then you can also apply these three characters to other aggregates such as feeling aggregates. So that, for example, the imputed of form aggregates, or feeling aggregates, the other power of form aggregates, feeling aggregates, for example.
Kanda Chetanje Moni Meba somebody that and that should tell you about Tanju or been a chet on the Moni Meba loaded Chetanji Rank singing about was and that for Tanju Rula, Chetanji Moni Meba, she with the one, don't show me morning, she with the morning, but thinking about the chet on the singing to my yes, because she would walk. I don't keep some morning Meba so I did able to the morning and see. Rajiba deba to the morning. Rajiba around thinking to buy to Kelly Willa. Kelly Willa.
One easy to the killing.
I'm going to what Kelly was.
Young one to
Kelly Willa. Morning, the bus I did. The deba to the morning. Deba to or deba to the morning. You can share on the deba to the morning bus. Tanji chat on the rank thinking morning. Oh, not since I was not morning because that's my guess. Chess shooter. What is a danger?
So this the Buddha's word Buddha's word in this Unraveling the Intention Sutra, saying all phenomena lacks entityness. So for Chittamatra, then this is how they interpret. So they link it to the three characters as I mentioned just now. And for autonomous school, Svatantika Madhyamika interpret these statements, all phenomena lacks entityness. So Svatantika Madhyamika school assert that all phenomena lacks the entityness of true existence, true establishment. Because Svatantika Madhyamika school, they do assert establishment by way of its own side and establishment by way of its own character. So Svatantika Madhyamika school, they assert that all phenomena lacks the entityness of truly establishment. And then for Prasangika Madhyamika school, then they assert that all phenomena so for for Prasangika Madhyamika school, they assert that all phenomena do not establish by way of its own character. Straight away to say that all phenomena that do not establish by way of its own character.
Oh, this is not a lot of China sends about to pay give a lot of that you marry, nothing about our give up we should get into gear which we can do, but you was in there. I think was a China
So this is just a brief explanations on the presentations of three characters. Otherwise, if you would like to read more about these three characters, you can refer to J. Rinpoche's the Kunshi Kanden. Yeah, Kunshi. There's a Kunshi. Kunshi. Yeah, so it's meant. If you like if you want to read more about these presentations of three characters, then you can refer to J. Rinpoche's text. It's called Kunshi in Tibetan.
That is Jirwa, which is a 200 career. That was the thing about the serious contact and that one. Since the movie, the other is so John the drug I used.
So this is the assertions of Chittamatra. So now is question and answer. What question do you have?
Just a quick one following your last statement, Ken. Kunshi, is it the mind basis of all?
Kunshi na di kaza.
What does
Kunshi sa de ro. That Kunshi sa de anything on so Kunshi nam shi de se de ma shi yo. Pecha mean Kunshi ro. Kunshi Gyaltsen de. Yeah. So the Kunshi is a name of the text, and then it doesn't refer to the mind basis of all. So the Tibetan name, so the text in Tibetan is Kunshi Gyaltsen de.
Literally translated, what does that mean?
I don't know. The Kunshi de kare se yore.
The Kunshi can do what you're as a contact Jerembuchi.
The Kunshi na the Kunshi namshi de kola re.
Kunshi Kolada, Kunshi Kolada.
Kunshi kola re.
Kunshi Kolan, the watch in that. Oh, Kunshi Nachi is a big contact man, the watch is since I'm in the watch she and the since I'm in the watch. The Kunshi saw the master since I'm all then get it. Kunshi saw the master Nachi so dear on the Kunshi said, then it's all since I'm a Kunshi Kolan, the watch in the watch.
Jidan Kunshi de ni the Kunshi namshi ta dewa yoro.
Kunshi na dia. Na mas yeja de Kunshi show.
Kunshi. Okay. Ni nang lo la the Kunshi namshi an le. Okay. Yeah, so the rough translation for this would be great explanation. Yeah. So a great explanation or extensive. Yeah, so great commentary or great explanations or extensive explanations on basis of all. So yeah, according to this is explained based on the Chittamatra assertions. So yeah, so you can that basis of all. Then while in it, then it talks about the mind basis of all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, can I ask questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it doing as well. I have two questions. Okay, first is on the other power nature. I think I don't quite get the meanings right, especially on the lacks the emptiness of productions. Uh, let's say I give an example. Someone scold me or hit me. So now, okay, uh, now is the choice or I'm in the power whether I want to retaliate or try to get angry with him, or I can try to be patient and do uh, nothing. So that is within my power. So the lack of emptiness of productions refer uh, uh, to the cause that is due to cause and condition. So that part I understand. And then when it comes to relate to our own self, for example, let's say we make mistake and we try to regret. So if we try to say this all are due to cause and conditions or due to our mental factor, then the power of regret in our when we practice our four opponent power may not be very great because we try to say, okay, this is due to something else or what. So I don't get a very correct understanding of the lacks the emptiness of productions. This is my first question.
就要开始有时你就要通过啲希望叫我意味把落去啦，因为这样条件理解把落去啦，对对的，因为啲条件理解话那点过去中因为叔叔啦ทาง教话呢，啲希望叫我意味把写的，叔啦教话呢，因为啲写的过去嘛，所以变那才是呢，微信那几个谢谢当话呢，因为个啲怕谢谢嘛当话切，因为这样希望叫我意味把啲当加油啦。啲空氣深水呢地水晒，呢樣變得出上就你怕個啥啲怕西西當位那人那啲你西西馬當或者你樣啲所謂公節，你樣西西馬當或者，你樣是假的。
啊，对国的为那个说，我的呢，能给觉得进了点点教化的也是吧，教化的也是，但希望教我里面吧是呢，他那个属的，进了马对吧？这教化要是呢，这教化要马也是，进了马对吧？进了马对吧？教化我里面马也是，进了马对吧？啊，你的进了马对吧？过了上嘛，等你去教化要的是，这教化要马也是，他希望教我里面，我就进了点点教化引起，进了马对吧？啊，去教化有个是呢，都要马也是，当然属不相那去吧，是吧？或者属不的呗，就进了点的话，进了点教化的话，但属不的就进了马对吧？啊，你进了会教化去，你干嘛了马对吧？啊，你教化有的是都要马的是不吧？
其實你啲叫啊，南方話我意味把嘅，南方話我意味。
要嘛的哦，就进了马对吧？啊，教化我要马的是吧？啊，这里我要马的是。
So regarding this, the other power lacks the entityness of productions. So you can understand in this way. So this our body lacks our bodies is produced from its cause and conditions, right? And this body cannot produce by way of its own power. So cannot produce by way of its own power. So in other way of saying you can link it like the other power lacks the independent productions, lacks the independent entity of productions. So the other power lacks the independent entity of productions. So because this body doesn't establish by way of its own power, right? It has to depend on its cause and conditions, right? So this form body, which is an other power, lacks the independent entity of productions.
叫我你们老古了，多上几多嘛送啥了，叫喜欢叫我们送啥了哇？叫喜欢叫是不的叫我你们把是来的，是不的，这个这样嘛对吧？啊，叫我就要嘛的是，啊，叫我就要嘛的是，哇，在这里看的，如果的那个帕马拉这里，这帕马拉这里接吧的话，接吧的，那个帕马拉嘛对吧？这可比了嘛对吧？啊，理解，对吧？这我有的是呢，这我就不嘛的是。我不买的时候啊，这我就要买的，那这按照负担出来不多。
Yeah, so this body is an other power, right? So this body, do not have the independent, do not have the independent entity. So without depending on its cause and conditions. So it doesn't have such independent entity without depending on its cause and conditions, because this body is produced from its cause and conditions, right? From parents and etc., right? So this body is another power, and then this other power doesn't have the independent entity without depending its cause and conditions. So it becomes the other power lacks the entityness of production. So lacks the independent entityness of productions. So in another way of saying this is this other power that doesn't have an independent entity, or the productions of this do not have the nature of, do not have the independent entity.
Okay. I understand that my body is due to cause and conditions, but my question is more to how I react to things, you see. I just like the example that I give. Someone do
and then you choose not to retaliate, and then you practice patience and etc., right?
You can do, you see. I create, you see. I create. So I do produce something, you see. Of course, my body is due to cause and condition. That the part
you mean you produce the you produce the result of not retaliating.
Yes. I can choose to retaliate or choose to be patient, not to do anything. You see. So doesn't that I produce something? I mean, the body is one part. Okay, that one part I understand, but it's the our decision
into a situation now.
So just like we say, somebody hit me with a stick. I should not angry with the stick. I should angry with the person. So now I do something wrong. Okay, I should not angry with myself. I should angry with my mental factor, my affliction. So that because I lack of entityness of production. So if that's the case, then I see that.
So you are saying that when someone hit you, you choose not to retaliate or be patient, then you actually produce something. So that is the production. So the other power is not lack of entityness of productions. In fact, you actually produce something.
Yes.
Are you saying this?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. 碰見其實咧，以前我呢啲城市啲下爽啊，數碰見城市啲下爽，因為碰見主要啲下個爽啥，城市啲下個爽，因為碰見些啲樣叔叔嘅教委呢，希望變得出現啦。你現在自己拿了謝謝當節，拿謝謝馬當馬節，怕謝謝馬當馬節，所個講叫我有咯，你自己話你啥，碰見心水呢，你怕謝謝馬當馬節，所個講埋呢。你讓有的是，你其實擔卡有的是，你怕是馬當嘛，擔卡的切文意思，其實你叫我有的是，你一記文意思，這不一記文意思，其實你希望叫我其實叫我沒辦法，就會呢啲樣啲路啊，就會啲差的意思，講起心水呢，希望呢。你其實把馬當話呢，你叫我自己嘅話，自己嘅話，你就會自己嘅意思。其實你這樣叫我你沒辦法，其實說出來講係啲
行啊，忙不了的是個，跟錯誤嘅話的，買句行話的， 저 시원 그 라마다 근데 저녁에 미치게 또 시바공화로와 예 시원했어 시바공화대 시원했어 다 시바공화대 시원해 저녁에 달루데 시바공화대 시원 이 아슈지 차는 nembo 차고로 와 동조되게 nembo 차고 봐 저 nembo 제발 저는 그냥 시바 사바지 제발 봐 nembo 사바지 제발 시원 대리 nembo 사바지 제발 저런 거 세비게 네 개요서 학원에 저런 거 세바 못 바로 와 세바 못 바로 와 뭐 근데 세바지 제발에서 저런 와 세바지 제발에서 그걸 제발에서 동조되게 nembo 제발 저런 기라 세바지 제발에서 세바지 가르기 제발이나 운동이 내고 제발에서 야보를 했을 때 와 진짜 정확히만 나도 세바 운동 나자 말이봐 나 뭐냐 창자로 와
기사님이 딘디나 대기와 뭐 니베 매바사 대기와 매바 말아.
네 내가 그래 매바서 세바데 이제 그러면 돼봐지야 요 말어 진짜네 세바도 나는 집발에 세바데 그러면 지켜라는 제발에서 저는 세바데 지켜라는 제발에 이제 세바데 이나 맞대봐 라운드 제발한테 말했어 말했어 집발
기와 뭐 니베 바사 대기와 매바기 된다 말아.
일단 시사에
기와 뭐 니베 바사 대 주변 나라 대기에 말아. 라왕기 라왕
원이 누가나 이제나 때문에 라운드 제발이 요 말해서 뭐요 말도 시사에 봐
라왕 뭐니 요 말이스.
요 말했어 라운드 제야 요 말했어 가는 주제가 라운드 제와지 요 말했어 다가래서 좀 세바도 다가로 세바도 지켜라는 제발에 시와를 와 이신제를 지켜라는 제고로 와 지켜라 지난 거 세바도 지켜라는 제발에 세바도 지켜라 맞대봐 제와지 이모 여서 요 말했어 어다데 집어 창도 집어자
공조 nenzo 나가게 nenzo 상마양지 시와로.
창도 시와로
Yeah, so the example that you mentioned just now, how's it? Being patient, not retaliate. So being patient is other power. Pride is also another power. Anger, which is how's it? You generate the antidotes of being patient to anger, right? So even anger itself is other power. So when we say other power lacks the entityness of productions, it doesn't mean that the other power lacks productions. So lacks the entityness of production means that it lacks the independent entity of it lacks the independent entity of productions. So meaning these other power. So for example, being patient. So this patience is an other power, and it is produced in dependence on its cause and conditions. It doesn't produce by it independently without depending on cause and conditions. So other power lacks the entityness of production. Also, what it means is other power lacks the independent entity of productions, meaning it doesn't come into existence without depending on its cause and conditions. In other way of saying this is, it is produced in dependence on its cause and conditions. So lacks the entityness of production doesn't mean that it lacks productions.
这也不懂是吧
Yeah, very good question.
对그런 거 세바데 내가 간다 시와를 해서 이게 시와를 된다는 이게 이게 뭐 시와 된다고 봐 이거 뭐 진짜 이제 뭐 들어와 저런 거 주시 세바데 지체나 뜨네 지와 인자 지체나 마테 바라 이지 뭐요 말했어 뭐이들이 지리 뭐지 도야 마다 시와 지와 원이 내 봐서 참고 있어
기와 원이 매 봐서 대주게 맞도 봐 라왕기 뭐
라왕이 이제 뭐지요 말했어
기와요.
이제라 마테 바라왕이 뭐지요 말했어 거다가 근데 뭐지냐 요 말하다
So other power means that as it is produced in dependence on cause and conditions. Other power, and lacks the entityness of productions means that So it doesn't have the independent entity without depending on cause and conditions. So so it doesn't have the independent entity to produce without depending on its cause and condition. It doesn't have the independent entity to produce without depending on its cause and conditions. So that is what it means. That is what lacks of entityness of productions means. So it doesn't have, it doesn't have the entity to produce by its independently. It doesn't have the independent entity to produce without depending on cause and conditions.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. May I ask the second question?
If you want to buy yours. Okay.
Okay, it's regarding the two aspect Dhammatrine and the fourth aspect Chittamatrine. For the two aspectarian, there are three parts. One is appearance of blue as blue, appearance of blue as a gross object, and appearance of blue as an external object. So I try to see whether my understanding is right or not. Appearance of blue as blue, it means is in real life perhaps is something when we see something very clear, something very near to our face. So we something blue in front of us, so near that you can't know what is the object. Okay, but if it is a certain distance, then we realize that that blue is a object, but then if we can't tell what is that object, or even some light from very far, we know that is a white light, but then we just aware that it's white light from very far. Or then when we come closer to that, then the white light maybe it can be some butter lamp light or some other type of light, but it's just very blur. I mean, it's just a gross object. But when we can see very clearly, know something, okay, what is that? Then that becomes an external object. So when we can see clearly, then it becomes mistaken, because that can be apprehended by the mind. So then that activates the imprint of the mind. That's why then this is that's why it does not appear as it appears. But when it's not apprehended by the mind, because we only see the blue, because object form they have two attributes. One is the color, another is the shape. So when you can only see the color or without seeing the true object, then the mind cannot apprehend what is the object. Then the latency or the mind cannot activate the imprint. Then that's why we cannot recognize. And because that is blue or the object or gross object is seen by the eye consciences, then that is treated as the true object. So I wonder whether my understanding on this is right or not.
Actually, I get. Sorry, due to my lack of understanding. So you say that your appearance of blue as blue, appearance of blue as a gross object, and appearance of blue as an external object, right? Then you say that something blue in front of you, if it's so close, you cannot realize it object. But then if you put the object further, then you can realize the object.
As a gross object, but you cannot see whether it's a blue cup or blue vase or whatever. So it's a gross. It's a gross. I mean, you cannot recognize.
You can realize you put part, but you can realize the object, but
when the object is very far. So once you recognize it as an external object, then that one is it become the imprint. It will activate the imprint. You see, the mind, the imprint will be activated because at first we cannot judge what is that. That's why the imprint cannot be activated.
So that is the appearance of blue as blue.
That is the appearance.
Your understanding of appearance of blue, right? is that your understanding of appearance of blue as blue? That something put very close, then you cannot realize the object. Then if you put it very far, then you cannot tell whether it is a blue cup or blue hat, for example. Then that is the appearance of blue as an external object.
I try to stimulate a real situation, how this could happen. I mean, the appearance of blue as blue, you see. And then from there, I try to understand what does it mean.
Okay, yeah. So, Anda di kasa cuci sum yo orang itu lah ngomong nawa ngomong apa nawa dan ngomong ciro tentu nawa. Ini di kasa kong di samsui na yang jangan tu susu lah jadi orang susu lah jadi orang ngomong nawa kena cari sana ini langsung tak boleh na ini 原来呢我冇住嘅啫，今年啲按你冇别啲按你冇啲小位呢，今年我做啲差啦啲卡里吧，有啲卡里吧，啊個叫埋，我冇就係點，我冇啲做嘢啦，我冇啲忙嘢啦，呢啲有卡里吧啲下嘛個，啲我冇人我做喎，今年啲我冇啲人他人冇啲小位呢，今年啲他人冇人咋我做啲社會通嘅埋，其實啲。我冇嘅做嘢啦，我冇嘅乜嘢會啦，裡面我都用埋啲。其實呢啲我冇嗱話但，我冇雜班嗱話但，主要對我冇主要對嗱話啲，呢樣都少少嘅其實能源嘅俾啲寫咗啦。啲你啦冇嘅多年我做啲其實，嗱做能源嘅俾啦會呢啲寫咗啦。我冇鬧話當，我冇雜班鬧話當，我冇主要對住鬧，讓南京嘅俾啲寫咗啦，啲下個係啲切。
但我是哪地方呢？到地步来是吧？哪地方呢？我说没去了，可能我不闹是吧？我不可能没多闹，没多我不去闹去是吧？没多我不去闹的。那地方这个，我不闹完哪些，那大家都有的是吧？没多我不闹完哪些，没多的我不大家都是什么的，是吧？
没多闹完哪些？
没多我不，
没多我不，
没多我不的，我没写的，没多我不，那我说啊，我这没写的，
没多我不那
没多我不这边没写下，他妈的是吧？没多我不这边没写的个，他没多我不这边写了的，是吧？没多我不这没写的个，没多我不的能够有的，现在我那些没多的我不的，是吧？他那地方。
没多我不的，那我能行，没多我不的，
我不能够的话，没多的我不那我是，那没多的我不多来的。
没多我不的有的，
有了吧？
没多我不有的。
我在那地方的，有那地方的那是这些我，那地方，我说那地方的那地方那个有是那有人说那我的，那是了嘛的，不离这个习惯了嘛，有的人说的，所以没多我不觉得那地方这些没多我不的，那我的我怎么写的？那我的。没多我不的，你没写的，这些马来是路马多少也是我的，那对吧？没多我不的，没写了啊，没多我不没写的，马多马来，马多少也是，这些马来是，而且呢，这些马来是呢，没多我不，经过的那么多啊，没多我不的，这么那些没多我不来多啊，像是比大的没多我不来多啊，我不调了来多啊，调了人把说上，这个不调了那不也是。这些全部马来是吧？这种新的这马上给这些我，我这是哪个我啊？我记得这些人，这些马来了我。
他年步他进步点点讲好。
讲马来吧，跟这人啊，这啥我来研究的，啥光来研究的，恐怕哪来的修来的，这么贵了，这个习惯要马来。有的这我说那我的那这个了，可能知道的这个。我这那我的我说这那我啊，我那我的那这个了马上比这习惯他可能，那点那怎么的？但他那地方的我没东我不知道，没东我几个吧钱了是吧？我这个做这个了，没东我不你晓得有吧钱了吧？做这个了没东我不去，他我这没写这个，做这个了没东我不的有的，没东我不的，那哪些没东我不的有的，没东我不的没写的这些马来是好的，那地方这些马来，而且的马来的，做这个没东我不的，他们不调了人说是，调了一般那些个那你这的这些马来是好。
지만 낭신 나와 낭신 내 매동은 뭐 쉬와 지산이 비푸시 말이지
특히 말해서 굴져서 특히 들어와
남대 바디
굴져서 싫어하고 지금 그거래 지금 그거 말해서 지금 특히 말해서 말이 받을래 봐시 뭐 되게 들어와 그래서 사월 보고 지금
낭추 연합이 표시 의미로
전나오니 우리 이외에서 전나오니 바kim도는 우리 특히만 이렇게 시고로 와서 와 어떻게 다들 진짜 나게 벌써 찾았대
뭐 나와요 그나 샤샤나
어쨌거나
그제 가라 매동은 뭐 샤와 So it's not like the books that you put far or the things you put near then you cannot realize or something yeah, so it's not related to that. It doesn't talk about it is not talking about that. So these three bases of debate between two aspectarians and false aspectarians is whether the branding consciousness is a mistaken consciousness or not. So they are debating about this, whether this is a mistaken consciousness or whether this is not a mistaken consciousness or not. So to give you an example, so in the text, and it talks about the appearance of blue as blue, right? So shall I give you another example inside? For example, if there is a blue flower put on top of the table, there is a blue flower put on top of the table, you see it. So to this eye consciousness, you see it, right? So then to this eye consciousness apprehending the blue flower appears to it, right? So blue flowers appears to your eye consciousness apprehending the blue flower. So this blue flower exists as it appears. This blue flower that you apprehend, this blue flower exists as it appears. And this eye consciousness apprehending blue flower is not a mistaken consciousness. So because of this, then two aspectarians say that, therefore, this eye consciousness apprehending blue flower is not a mistaken consciousness. Why? Because the blue flower is there, right? The blue flower exists as you apprehend it, exists as it appears. So therefore, this eye consciousness apprehending blue flower is not a mistaken consciousness. So far, you follow?
Yes.
Okay.
그렇다. 안 디바가 들어와. 디바가 디시 말해서 마치 셰바를 다가노 그리고 와. 다가노 해서. 다 나지바가 저거 파서 걸어와. 다 나지바게 그 쪼지가 매동하고 다가노 힘을 들어와. 그때가 매동하고 미시되게 미시되 주시 차대. 무슨 거야. 나지바가 원시 생각 주시를 걸어와. 이 주시를 가르쳐는 주시를 했으나 그로 매동하고도 저제가 매동하고도 응보 많이 기던 응보 나야 세 근데 주시 그거 그래서 저제가 가서 매동하고도 응보 이해시도 응보 많이 받는 거는 와. 이게 참 말해서 저제가 매동하고 샤샤로 와. 매동하고도 매동하고 많이 기도 매동하고 나왔으나 주시 자고 와. 이 자고 와. 매동하고 많이 기도 매동하고 주시 나왔으나 주시 자고 와. 진짜 인기가 말해서 뭔지 봐. 알았으나 어제 가라 매동하고 나이 미시되게 매동하고 나이 미시되게 매동하고 나한테 셰발이 제로지 미시랑게 셰발이 제로스 때 타대바지 든지 나한테 그래서 봐. 셰발이 제로지 타대바지 나한테 그래. 그 가리가 수기 제시네 남고 열에서나 다들 맞아 되고 맞아 다티 빠차 되어한게 한 원에 거기 들리지 나한테 그래. 맞아 그럼 매도 뭐보다 뭐 많이 기도 뭐를 해서 나 하는 주기로 안 그래. 와 진짜 그게 시고요 말에 나한테 봐. 그게 어제 가라 매도 뭐 집이 미리 되게 그때 다티 빠차 왕게 다티 빠차 그래. 뭐 지금 빠차 나고 무슨 거야. 다티 빠차 왕
제로수.
제로수 좀 봐야 돼. 제로수 그리고 뭐 있다는 거래. 옛날 와서자 근데 주시는 예서. 이 주시는 가서 바샤수 깨져 신이 봐. 바샤수는 또 나디 바샤만 나오고. 나디 바샤만. 또 뭐지지 바자 나디 바자 간다. 내 바샤지와 스피랑 바샤지 소시에와. 근데 나디 바샤만 나오고 다.
So then, true Spectarians and false Spectarians, they debate, right? So these Spectarians regarding the first point. So same example, there is a blue flower on the table. Then there is an eye consciousness apprehending the blue flowers. So false Spectarian says that this eye consciousness apprehending the blue flower on the table is a mistaken consciousness. In fact, false Spectarian says that all sense consciousnesses are mistaken consciousness. So then, why do they say that the eye consciousness apprehending the blue flower on top of the table is a mistaken consciousness? So so it is not related to the general expectation. Like for example, there is there is no blue flower on the table, but you apprehend there is a blue flower on top of the table. So that means that eye consciousness is a mistaken consciousness. In general, it is a mistaken consciousness, right? Because it is not a blue flower, but you apprehend blue flower on top of the table, then it is a mistaken consciousness. However, it doesn't talk about that. So it doesn't talk about that. So how false Spectarians say that eye consciousness apprehending a blue flower on top of the table is a mistaken consciousness is because the appearance of blue flower appears to be separate or a different substantial entity from the consciousness. The appearance of blue flowers appears to be a different substantial entity, or it appears to be different from the consciousness. So how does this appearance happen? Is because it is due to the predispositions of the view of self. Previously we talked about three types of predispositions, right? Predispositions of verbalization, predispositions of view of the self, of the view of self, and predispositions of branches of existence, branches of existence. So this appearance appears to be different or appears to be different from the consciousness, or appears to be different substantial entities from the consciousness, is due to the predispositions of the view of self. So because of this, false Spectarians say that like consciousness branding flower on a table is a mistaken consciousness.
오지리 나간다 안나도 스티킹도 그게 다 스티킹 가보래 이제 가보래와 이제 상황 모두 비는 너무 많아 너무 다 생각을 따와 그게 와대 어떻게 원시 강가다 뒤시레스라도 그런다 생각 난지만 원시 앞에 뒤시니 우레스 왔다 차오레스 그런다 어디 차를 넣고 유지를 되네 맞어 예 그런데 뒤시로 보게 누가 누지만 나지가 지지 킬리고 와 누가 수지 제마가 지지 킬리는 거
신자마
생각 난지가
신자마
지지
가리 제시를 건다
수다 수지 제마 지지
수당
제시도 두바다 단다데 그러니까 나한테 바창하게 빼요 그런 거네 그거다 제발 제로스 지나도 소자 된지 이거 말해서 이거 배웠어 주시리에서 다들 봐 나기 봐 다들 코로나가 내가 저희도 도스 자고 거저 코리니가 나한테 니가 나 디파 주장 뭐했어 나저 매수야 돼 와. 매수 다 예서 나 매수인데 코로나 나한테 나 와도 뒤집어야 돼 나한테 이게 마시세 말이 맞아래 말에서 다 잡아야 돼 이게 이 말이
So whether the consciousness apprehending consciousness is a mistaken consciousness, then they debate about it. So true Spectarians and false Spectarians, they debate about it. And also the appearance, the modes of appearance whether the mode of appearance is polluted by the ignorance or not, then it's also the basis of debate between false aspectarians and true aspectarians. Chittamatra, false aspectarian, says that all sense consciousnesses are mistaken consciousness, are necessarily mistaken consciousness. So because Chittamatra, false aspectarians, they assert that form, for example, form and the valid cognizer apprehending form are one substance or one substantial entity. So because of these, the appearance of flower appears to be a different substantial entity from the consciousness. Then this is due to the predispositions of the view of self. Because of this, the eye consciousness apprehending a blue flower on the table is a mistaken consciousness. Yeah. So false aspectarians say that such appearance is mistaken. Is such appearance. The eye consciousness or the consciousness branding such appearance is a mistaken consciousness because it is affected by the predispositions of the view of self. Yeah, because such appearance appears due to the predispositions of view of self. Because of this, eye consciousness apprehending it is a mistaken consciousness.
Okay, then how about the blue as a gross object? The gross object, can Geshe-la give an example other than appearance of blue as a gross object? Is it a similar example as the previous?
Ini dia apa nak dia ni pada orang ngomong apa nawa dia ini dia debate kalau nanti kita orang itu jangan medo ngomong di
oh ngomong nanti ke tak medo ngomong dah apa dah tu orang apa nawa medo ngomong orang apa dah oh tak apa tanda apa medo ngomong dah apa nawa nanti apa nawa ini sudah nak dia ada khusus juga ngomong deh apa nawa nanti ngomong medo ngomong dah apa nawa nanti kau apa cari orang
medo ngomong apa nawa sih
apa nawa
nanti
apa nawa res
apa res
apa nawa res
apa nawa nanti apa res
di bagi ini kok gimana tengok mereka mau apa mari sini kita sibuk mari ye apa ini apa ini kita sibuk tengok mereka mau apa ini bagi nanti apa kelihatan kita lihat cepat jangan kita cepat yo mari
oh
aku nanti lah kelihatan nanti lah
apa imba ini
apa imba kelihatan mari aku nanti lah 정윤自己闹的没都我不的，哪怕闹的，我不的，然后闹的，先把人见罗嗦，我不哪怕去闹我，
我养家养
哦，先把人见罗嗦，我哪怕去闹，不是我的，没都我不哪怕，那先把人见罗嗦，我不哪怕去闹是的，哪里没接触的，也是我，
这罗嗦知道吧？哦，这差这边知道吧？
哦，先把人见罗嗦，先把人等于不是吧？先把人见罗嗦，我哪怕去闹的，也是。我不哪怕去闹的，我不是，我没到我的哪怕一把看脸我了，那几把的，我真的闹我也是个闹我的都是闹我都是闹我的话，世界上的很闹我的了，那个了个。
西巴里我么哪怕
我西巴里
这罗嗦
我不哪怕去闹我的也是，
我不哪怕，
我真的闹我也是个，我真的闹是的，就是的人嘛，你觉得也是个。
其實依家人哋未到我冇哪怕那能行，哪怕因把啲依家傾領咗啦，因啲能做啲，讓人家嘅打啲牌下。
這個，那這個คน這就是那這個，那我的國際馬里巴家是建修，那我的建修在這些人是，建築馬里這些馬里馬多人干好了，你可能你上長大的我看差啥。
Yeah, so again. True aspectarians. So true aspectarians regarding the second one is a blue flower. A blue flower appears to be an external object. Appears to be a gross object. So regarding this one, false expectarians and true expectarians, they are both assert or accept that blue flower, blue flower is a gross object as it appears. True expectarians and false expectarians, they both accept that a blue flower is a gross object as it appears. But there is a debate between true expectarians and false expectarians is the modes of appearance. So again, this blue flower appears to be this gross blue. Yeah. So again, the modes of appearance is their basis of debate or their main concern. So false expectarians say that this blue flower appears to be gross blue, or appears to be a gross blue, is a different substance from the consciousness. This blue flower appears to be a gross blue flower that is different substantial entity or different substance from the consciousness. So because of again, such appearance is due to the predispositions of view of the self. So because of this, then they say that it is polluted by ignorance. Yeah, so it's polluted by ignorance. So false expectarians, they say that all sense consciousnesses are mistaken consciousness because appearance of object to sense consciousnesses are due to they appears to be an external object. In other way of saying this is there appears to be an object external to the consciousness. So because of it is due to the predispositions of view of the self. So because of this, false expectarians say that all sense consciousnesses are mistaken consciousnesses.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just follow up one question on what has been discussed? And this is a question that came up from the review class. Ken, this is the question I put to you. Yeah. What is the significance of having the three bases? Because bases 1 and 2 are proving the same point, right? Or am I wrong in saying that?
Proving the same point, meaning?
Meaning that it differentiates. I mean, if I were to just present the second basis, appearance of blue as a gross object, okay, and the third basis, appearance of blue as an external object, that would already differentiate the true expectarian and the false expectarian, right? So why do I need to have that three bases to differentiate?
Either the first one, the first and third, or the second and third, for example, right?
Correct. That would already differentiate the true expectarian and the false expectation on how they perceive the consciousness, apprehend the flowers. Yeah. But we have this 1 and 2 and 3. What is the difference between 1 and 2? Or another way of putting it is, what is the significance of presenting the basis of debate number 1 and number 2? Number 3 quite clear, yeah?
Okay. Tanda di suci sum di ora aja lah. Ngomong-ngomong nawata, yang kasa di review kasa no lagi tu ada. Ngomong-ngomong nawata, ngomong apa nawata, ngomong ciro tu nawati sum je. Ini ngomong ciro tu nawati ini yang sebo yoris konjo yang kasa tu tu roa. Ini di ngomong tang ni bate. Ngomong ni cina di sumi nang ne niba dang summa pena cha shana niba dang summa zui shi ni da boy na in yang nam de ba dang nam zun ba de kewa yang che tu res zui shi sum yo ro any de zui shi sum la de ne nam de ba dang nam zun ba ni de che ba de lo ga de cha wa ro ka de cha wa ro nam zun ba nam de ba ini di sumi na nengo ne china ni la ne yang nam den ba dang nam zun ba de yang lo ga cha ro ari jin ne yang di sum yang zo de yang kari jin ne yang tang bo sum ba pena sha chana tang bo dang sum ba la de ne tang de ne tu ga zo wai na nam den ba nam zun ba de yang lo ga de cha res ini yang na ni ba dang sum ba de na zu ba zo shi la de ne yang nam den ba dang nam zun ba ni yang kiba chaires 아리지네 양 이 당보니바 숨바디 남도란 가서 뜻이 숨 모니지나 디 당보다 니바 아니야 디 가서 니바다 숨바 나가 당보다 숨바 이 라테나 아니 디양 남데마다 남주바 디 차로 와서 아리지네 양 숨디 양 가서
네 되게 린다 아니 단다 누도시나 뭔지 미실라 뭐뭐 나와데 이치로 자자는 비거래
저도 나와
이치로 이치로 네가 뭐 어디서도 그 나와 집어래서 마시고래 아니 진짜 이게 뭔지 미실라 뭐뭐 나와 네가 집어 샤단 디고 저시 집어라잖아 라파데 린데잖아 린데래 라파 린데래
저도 나와 린데
네가 싫어 되더만 나왔다 네가 네가 따와서도 나한테 보고 싫어 되더도 봐那我现在不满意吧，差不多。你现在不给到我有多么的感谢，有多么的需要，别的都干不了。现在那点不需要，别的都不弄完了，真挺连过的。
你看那点把那点把那个，这样出现你妈的。
这些天，需要别的都是那这些天嘛，那边呢，现在不给别，感谢不了那个。可能我们看现在的那去他们看连过了，去他们看，你看看你的这感谢的差点了，需要别的之外的感谢差点了。
还是做
我刚才查的多的，那啥是几步，我这没去了，我不弄的，这几步的，这个的，那哪怕做的嘛，人家，
就团队那玩的这样移嘛的，看现在的贵大家做，
这是说这个把你个那几把的，是说这个把必须一把几把看了我，
就团队主办那我的yang ke lengyo re kasa ke lengyo
我这没去了，我不到了，说这个就把那我的。说这个的话，那啥这些蛮不就是也不修，你个几把这个开了
啊，就是蛮有办法，
开了过。如果这个的话，那是那这些一把你个开了过。
就是一把。
我对你个开了，这松嘎的呗，你松嘎的呗，那我的几把也是我的，没是我说那这了七把有我的。
我那现在这样可是苏米拿年的糖不的，
糖不的，这现在糖不的。然后这个这人家的话，人家。
然后点的人家，
人家几这样的看的，
松把点的赢吧的，其实你得做些事，那做点我拿完了，
是，但我不拿，如果我不拿，这算起的嘞，就是起的，那我不拿把拿完说，就是他们把嘎萨嘎了把这准备下来吧。
其实你样做些事，谈不点我拿完的，两南点把当南准把的开把的，
我当时开把的接受，当时我不可能干啥，我这没些，그런 거로 사는 지고 그래서 시대 되잖아. 세다라 바나와다 때 마부여. 나도 저 상마다 가서 린딩 계절와. 근데 대송가도 나한테 집발에 빼셔고 대송가도 만난 거에 군니가 나와다. 군니가 캐려고 그래서. 나와다 캐려 그래. 나한테 때라 쭉 주마셔 계셔시고다 그러니. 나와다 집발 지정을 했어. 네가 캐려고 왔다. 뭔지 뭐셔다 뭐 나와. 뭐 보라 바나와. 싫어 대도 봐. 나와. 싫어 대도 봐 나왔으나 싫어 대도 엑스가 나와 요레스 다 싫어 대도 봐 나왔으나 니가 어떻게 머리 받쳐려 봐 주로 뜻이 차고 해서 그러니까 뜻이 캐려고 왔다데 그렇게 말이나 나한테 받아 생각하면 되는 거다 그래서 저번에 엄마니 취지 다음에 또 어디 가셔 요도면도 싫어 대도 어디 가고
나와 숨디 참마디 가다 남디 그래서 나와 참이나 데켈링이 이네 딘남 수디 말이 이비 말이 맞아지 말이 이슈이오네 yeah so when we talk about these three bases of debate so in fact the main basis of debate, or the main basis of debate is first one, appearance of blue as blue. So when we talk about these three bases of debate, appearance itself, appearance of blue as blue, appearance of blue as a gross object, appearance of blue as an external object, then true expectarians and false expectarians, they do such appearance itself. It appears like that, the appearance itself. However, the modes of appearance, whether it is polluted by ignorance or not, then this is the debate. So you can say that out of these basis of debates, the main one is the appearance of blue as blue, and the second one, appearance of blue as a gross object, is the so the appearance of blue, that their debate also apply to the second one, the appearance of blue as a gross object. 공기 좋아하는 대한 가서 디 당보당 숨바 내 집어대 당보당 숨바 대신에 뒤로 와서 이제 이거 다 숨바 말했어. 제발 말해. 그러니 저서 기대. 저서 디고래. 저도 그거를 그랬대. 지금 나와 대고를 그러니 집어 진지래. And regarding the appearance of blue as an external objects, in fact, true expectarians and false expectarians, they also regard it as regard the consciousness apprehending it, the consciousness to which such appearance appear to it as the apprehending consciousness to which object blue appears to be an external object. So such consciousness is a mistaken consciousness. Both expectarians or true expectarians, they both also agree that it is a mistaken consciousness. It is polluted by ignorance. So in fact, out of these three, you can say that the main basis of debate is the first one, appearance of blue as blue. So the main basis of debate is the first one, appearance of blue as blue, for example. And then the second and the third follows. So you can say that the main basis of debate is the first one. Then you also can apply to other example like eye consciousness apprehending house, eye consciousness apprehending pillar, for example.
Momo Rapa Nawa, Momo Rapa Zimishida. She will tell the Juba now. I say, this sort of my shouting out to my snatch it, Roa, a question. Nika the Marie Pache, people shoot much, don't serve with it. Can then you got that? How much cheaper that one's in Michela, Marie Pache, never shoot it. One's in Michela, Marie Pache, never shoot. How much in Michela, Marie Pache, never shoot it. It's a water. Yes, not debug. That
Namzum.
or not debug, not debug. No,
Marie Pacha de Shugio Maro.
or Shumares, not debug, not debug, Shumares or Samara. What's the Michela? Or the Michela, Samara, Marie Pache, never Shumares. Or Kaban Zibi Michela. A Kawan Zibi Michel, Mumbu Zibi Michel. You are, that's someone
You need the children to know. Children to know.
She wrote to what? No, Marie Pache never Shumares. That's the
미시디야 미시디 대표셔라. 아니 담보다 이바디 아니 말이 맞아.
나서나. 나서나 말이 맞아. 이바 슈브레에서 와.
children 나온 거.
나서나. 저 단도 봐 나서나. 나한테 봐봐. 싫어 단도 봐 나서나 말이 맞아. 레바 슈브레 주시에서. 간지가 전화로 봐 나시. 나지가 그런 지장래. 싫어 단도 봐 나서나 말이 맞아. 레바 슈브레에서. 신나서 싫어 단도 봐 나 말에서 와. 나한테 봐. 문제 미치다 간지 미치다 우문지 미치다 저 된도 봐 나가 말해서 네 나와 나시 대한 아니라서 저 된도 봐 나가 말해 나스다 말이 받자려 봐 슈브레에서 네 말이 받자 저 된도 봐 나가 말해서 나한테
봉지 미시다 보이나 디양 children 나와이나 디양
슈브레에서
네 children 나와이나 이 주시 말해서 말이 맞아요.
나한테 어떻게 말해 성취게 말해요.
하나님 대조사 시
진실증에서 난 그건
真实的记者有嘛了，这是送的了，我到，
要买了，这是记来了哇，这是记，我这没些苦大了，这是对我的，然后这是对了，常常对过来，这些人送过来，这是的，
这立马都有嘛，这是有嘛的，
这是送有嘛的，但是成都我那些这是现在不呢，这是记这个嘛的，我这没些了，这是加入不把的。这没去了，这是讲的，看吧，这没去了，这是盲目讲的，但是都这是其他的，
So the
yeah,
so there is only one basis of debate, which is, for example, appearance of blue as blue. The first one. So then the second one follows. Then the third one is they both agree that if object appears to be an external object or appears to be established as an external object, then the consciousness apprehending it are definitely mistaken consciousness and polluted by ignorance. So there's only one basis of debate, which is appearance of blue as blue, for example. So if object appears to, so eye consciousness apprehending blue, for example. So if the object blue appears to be an external object, then both of them, true expectarians and true expectarians, they are both agree that it is a mistaken consciousness.
Oh, okay. That depends on another. Combat 이게 말해서 딴집에 반집에 메시도 지혜래 반집에 메시도 지혜래서 까집에 메시도 지혜래라고 지혜니까 단다 제가 찍잖아.
So one basis of debate, for example, how's it the appearance of blue as blue, right? Then, like for example, the consciousness branding pots, consciousness branding eye consciousness branding house, consciousness branding pillar. So true expectarians say that it is not a mistaken consciousness, and false expectarians say that it is a mistaken consciousness.
What is it? 그래. 그러니까 싫어 되어도 봐. 내가 니가 집아 키네 버다. 싫어 되어도 봐. 나와서 해봤다. 미시 가리지나 코라 싫어 되어도 봐. 나오도나. 내가 말이 와가지 내가 슈트에서 니가 키네 버. 싫어 되어도 봐. 나와서 지시래서 코라 니가 키네 버. 이렇게 말이나 진짜 나한테밖에 이렇게 내고 말이나 생각 가지 되는 거지.
심상 맞아요 말아.
어떤 생각을 맞아야고. 이 가지 이렇게 내고.
So if to an eye consciousness, an object appears to be an external object, then both of them, true expectarians and false expectarians, they both have to agree that such consciousness is a mistaken consciousness. Because if they do not assert that it is a mistaken consciousness, then they will fall out of a Chitta Matra. So they will no longer be a Chitta Matra, or they no longer holding the Chitta Matra in view.
Okay, thank you. Very clear, Geshe-la. I think Pin waiting a long time. Yeah, Pin's question. Thank you, Geshe-la.
Geshe-la, but for me, what's the difference between external object and gross object? What's the difference between blue and gross object?
External object and gross object. Yeah. 가서 치료턴도 치료기 turn 라바 이키바 가리요나 당 응원보 당 라바기 키바 가리요나 또아니
지도한 대처에서 가서 매도 세워다 가서 시로그 치료를 해서 기분에 지금 가서 시로그 치료 지원이 연인이 치료를 해
치료기 치료
시로그 치료에 매도다 매도서 라바래 시로그 치료에 라바래 놓아요 어디서 그만이 시로리 연인이 어떻게 이제 시고를 가서 시로지 치료사는 가서 주지 디바 많이 봐 강사 주지 디바 많이 봐 시로 이런 있잖아 시로 이런 수준으로 시로지 쉬어 하도 시로 치료 대화는 그래 라바래요 라바
대니기 케바 대니기 케바
약간 뭐뭐때 라바래 시로 치료래 니가래 내도 뭐뭐때
케바요 말이 대니기 케바 가래 나왔어
다 가서배 시로 치료나 라바 많이 참어요 저거라 예 나도 시로 치료나 뭐 간다 메타바 끼지 참어서 메타바 참어서 그래서 간다 가서 치료 그치 메타바 참어 리샤 쪽으로 와 메타바 참어라
메타바 참어데 치료기 치료래
근데 답 간다 봄비티도 메타바 참어서 봄비티도 메타바 참어
봄비티도
메타바 참어서
메타바 참어
메타바 참어 봄비티도 메타바 참어 또스나 가서 왜 아무 라파 말아 밖에 지시고 말아 이게 뭐다 뭐도스나 대가다 우비데도 못하고 참는 수도 또 와이나 예 봐봐마도 이거 말 봐봐마도 이거 말 뭔가 그런 또 마찬가지 이렇게 지시고 말아 뭔가 또 나가서 라파를 뭔가 그런 라파시 뭔가 그런 라파시 우비데도 못하고 참고 아들 이렇게 지시해 와 우비데도 못하고 참고 뭔가 그런 라파시
뭔가 라바지 이제 보베텐도 미타바 네 소수스 또
완식이 또 그거 말했어 보베텐도 못하고 참고된에서 완식이 또 그거 말했어 뭔가 라바데 완식이 또 그거 됐어 가서 참고리다 완식이 또 그거야 말 못하고 참고했어 가서 매도 라파도 가서 완식이 또 그랬어 나 매도 참고해서 아마 매도 그때도 차이 맞다 봤다 저든 가서 또 보고요.
보비텐도 미다바 참모디 대치로기 추여래.
그래 보비지
치료기 추여래. 이게 데 라바를 데 가자 보비텐도 미다바 참모디.
보비텐도 맞다 참모디 라바 말이래.
말와 치료기 추여래 라바 말와
뭐 시고 치료와. 그로시 치료 그런 이 차시 건가 시로 치료와. 봄비도 맞다봐도 봄비 차시래.
봄비도 미다봐 참모디.
봄비 차시래.
봄비 차시로. 이제 치료기 치료로. 치료는 저 있어요. 치료. 몸바랑데 치료. 예 치료기 치료래. 이제 라바 말이스.
리체바샤인지 그랬어.
기바디. 근데 이나디 라바 이나디 가자는 파바마도 그래서 참모 이나디 파바마도 되도요 말.
참모 파바마도 또 만들어서
마이나 디치로 이슈에 잡아지 애니한테
라파에 가서 메시 보고 그랬어. 당사 메시 보고 그래. 처음부터는 메시 보고 말했어. 수비도 보고 수비도 왕시도 메시 속에 보고 그래. 처음부터 왕시 보고 말했어.
지금 라바세 대양 왕시 또 가서 또 라바 왕시 또 두요로.
왕시 또 그래서 라바스.
Yeah. So the difference between an external object and gross object, right? Then the example is like a flower. So a flower is an external object, and a flower is also a gross object. So it is an external object because it's not included in the mind stream of the person. So then to differentiate, to show the difference between the external object and gross object, then another example. So a pot is a gross object, and subtle impermanence on the basis of it is not a gross object. But pot itself is a gross object. Pot itself is an external object. The subtle impermanence on the basis of it is an external object, but it is not a gross object. So pot itself, it can be cognized, or it can be cognized by sense consciousness. And however, this subtle impermanence on the basis of pot cannot be cognized by sense consciousness. And it can only be cognized by the Arya being. So this is the difference between the external object and the gross object. So gross object, like pot, then it can be cognized by sense consciousness. It is a gross object and it can be cognized by sense consciousness. However, the quality of a pot, which is the subtle impermanence on the basis of pot, it is an external object, but it is not a gross object, since it cannot be cognized by sense consciousness of an ordinary being. So then the same example like a blue flower. So blue flower is a gross object, and it can be cognized by a sense consciousness. It can be cognized by eye consciousness. And however, the subtle impermanence on the basis of a blue flower is not a gross object because it cannot be cognized by a sense consciousness of an ordinary being. So叫我而未是啲多咗嘛咯，爸爸媽都呢啲其實啲叔叔叫嘢，it cannot be cognized by sense consciousness. It's not a gross object. The subtle impermanence on the basis of flower is not a gross object because it cannot be cognized by sense consciousness. So sense consciousness, for example, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, and etc., it can only cognize gross phenomena. So they can sense consciousnesses like eye consciousness and sense consciousness cannot can only cognize a gross phenomena. They cannot cognize a subtle phenomena. And the Dikadadian or the Sansai the Paisina Chiwaniva di Oroa, Numbotang, the Nerva, the Kieva Carinas.
Ticket that Numbo the Rapan is Numbo in Rapa in Kiores. Medo Gumbo the Mumbo is Rapa is Ninga in Kay. Numbo just made of the Raya Digre. Just made of Mumbo, you're just on the Mumbo and a bit conduct. You're just in Mumbo de Mumbo Rabares, or the Last.
In it, Kiba. The need Kieva Carinas. Numbo down, the Rapa, the Kieva Carinas.
The Rapa in the Mumbo, you be Chagumaris, Mumaris. They got a Bumbade, Zai Bumbade, Rapa and Mumbo Maris.
Say Bumbade,
say Bumbade, Rapa de Mumbo Maris. That's about the Shire.
So then your second question is what is the difference between blue and gross object, right? Yeah. So the common locus between these two, blue and gross object, like for example, blue rose. Then it is blue, and then it is a gross object. So however, being a gross object is not necessarily blue. Like for example, a clay pot. A clay pot is a gross object, but it's not blue. To give you the example to illustrate the difference between blue and gross. To give you another easy example is a yellow flower. A yellow flower is a gross object, but it's not blue. to show you the difference between these two.
Okay. Geshe-la, there is an important question which Pin brought up in the chat group. There's no more time now, so maybe if Geshe-la can address it next class, yeah? Because Geshe-la mentioned about selflessness of phenomena, that there is, Chittamatrin assert that the cause selflessness of phenomena is emptiness of external object that are collection of partless particles. But I had read somewhere as well that Chittamatrin do not assert cause selflessness of phenomena. So how do we reconcile this two? Perhaps in the next class, if Geshe-la, Ken, if you could communicate with Geshe-la. Perhaps we heard wrongly. Yeah. Yeah.
Geshe-la can answer if it's a short answer. It's still early.
It's still early.
That's
You can stay on,
Yeah.
you can stay on until 11.
Because 공기 지와지제 당기 어디 어서 진다 고라 니지 추기 다음에 차라리 소임바 그냥 양 집신다 질라 변하셔 대신다 질라 그냥 추기 다음에 잡아디 되기 요만 얼마 요 말이스 세상 이
실에서 시고래
같이
등게 신경요래 등게 신경요래 등게 신경 좀 하는 시제이 맞아 되게 참여서 봐봐 시로 된주게 동화대 지금 카메라 바리에서 내가서 개발서 뉴스티도 많아 요래스 이제 많아 요래 당이 된다 가지고 되게 지기 옆에 왔다는 지연이 와 그 성우 다야래 가서 성우 다야래 타지도 몇 번 요마세라 막 타지 요치 일하면서 와 그래서 근데 되게 기술 많아 요래스
So regarding these gross selflessness of phenomena, and they are scholars who assert gross selflessness of phenomena, and they are scholars who do not assert gross selflessness of phenomena. So I tell you that I personally doesn't follow the
생각이 지금에 아빠지 여기 원들은 대샤고리에서 그 필링이 저러와 대샤고리에서 근데 가실 때 필링이고요 말이 그다음에 아빠 필링이 뭐 다들 저도 가서 열심히 있습니다 요래서
So what I present to you is those who assert the gross selflessness of phenomena. So I'm not conclusively saying that there is the gross selflessness of phenomena, and I'm not conclusively saying that there is no gross selflessness of assertions of gross selflessness of phenomena. So it's something for us to think about. So if one assert gross selflessness of phenomena, then this would what I've said would be assertions.
Thank you. That's why next time, next
time.
question.
So yeah, so it's time already. So if you have any question, please.
Very good. That today is a question answer. Very good question.
We can have question on the quiz suggested answer. Maybe next session, if everyone do the quiz, there are some area that we are not quite clear.
Yeah.
quiz 나게 단단히 막 카운트 수 있어와. 이제는 저 카운트 중에 있어야 있어.
그래서 quiz 담보대에 대한 단들 미카시에 대한 지와 요래서 아니 대한 굉장히 제마 이 quiz 담보기 꼴라 지와 당나 되기요 나스.
야, 다 제마
Yeah, they are concise and committed.
한국에서 게이저 원들라도 이제 템버 제보던 도와대와 그래서 정거 정보 초고 주비 인지 제제 담아 사셔 가는 수기로 템버는 이제 붙이 이제 제보를 쇼프도 제보다 뭐 지다 다저지 넘어서 버는 거지 그거서 요들이 양심 주면 니도 피해 예전 페는 맞은 거 지나시 페 된이 추샤 사무 쉬야 연구 지다 내가다 뭐다 니야 사파지도 많이 시대이 와디 마지막이스.
We conclude with dedication. We dedicate the roots of virtue accumulator, especially through this Dharma lesson. May it be we dedicate these roots of virtue to the Buddha Dharma and also to all sentient beings. And we also dedicate these roots of Buddha Dharma to flourish in all 10 directions and for all sentient beings to experience excellent happiness. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha's teachings, mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May the upholders of Buddha's teachings live eons long, good health. May their enlightened activities and holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously and be spread in all 10 directions. And in particular, we dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved teacher, Gyaltsen Lama Zopa Rinpoche. May the holy wishes of Rinpoche be accomplished instantaneously, and may the unmistaken reincarnations of Rinpoche be swiftly returned and continue to turn the wheel of Dharma for the sake of sentient beings and Dharma teachings, so that we will have the opportunity to receive Dharma teachings from him again, from you again, just like before. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to the world peace, and may excellent happiness prevail in the world, and may wars, conflicts, a pandemic, disaster, natural disaster be pacified immediately. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who suffer and those who pass away. May their negativities be pacified immediately and quickly achieve the state of enlightenment. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who help others, and may they live long, good health, and may their wishes be accomplished instantaneously and quickly achieve the state of enlightenment.
Okay, Junior, so
Abe Gewa De Tenang Joa Kundan Kambe Dang Keba Jetsun Losan Java Itemi Nimbo Rendo Seji Jo Chanchu Sem Jo Rinpo Jima Kepa Nang Jikyu Ji Nyamba Me Bayang Kunde Kundo Me Wa Jo Jambe Bawe Jida Kepa Dang Kundo Sambo De Ande Shinde De Da Kungi Jinsu Dalo Ji Kyo De Da Dang Ji Rapto Mo Nyamba Rinpo Jima Kepa Nang Jikyu Ji Kepa Nyamba Me Bayang Kunde Kundo Me Wa Jo Ripi Dawa Rinpo Jima Kepa Nang Jikyu Ji Kepa Nyamba Me Bayang Kundo Me Wa Jo Yin Jie Sun Do Jue Be Lang Chi Xie Se Se Kan Jin De Lu Yun Jiang Na Be Mo Ten Jie Gyal Zou La Su Hua De So Tu Yuan Du Zhu Kan De Ben De Pa Le Ba Kan De Jung Wei Sang Bi Shi Shou Kan De Sun Wei Ten Jie Gyal Zou La Su Hua De So Tu Xie Lu Du Zhu Li Be Ge Se Yin Rang Zu Lo Sang Ge Hua Ye Se Qiu Ba Ji Rang Jia Xi Ge Jiang Yu Ma Le Be Ten Ten Ge Ba Zhu Be Ge Le Zhe Rin Po Jie Ji Rang Zhu Be Zi Zi Bei Hua Lang Lang Yang Bi Shi Shi Bei Gu Jia Jin Chi Mei Jie Zhe Lang Ma Su Hua De Ben De Lu Jung Wei Gu Jie Bo Bi Mei Din Dang Ma Qiu Zhu Hua Ye Dun La Qi Dun Zhen Ma Zi Bei Mu Qi Hua Xi De Yi Le Fang
念到就说讲这
Qi
些
Ta Dang Jie Se Nang Ge Du Ge La Po Jie Du Bei Den Bei Yang Gu Sa Bei Zhen Ge Sang Du Jie Bei Du Niu Jie Zhu Ka Qian Yao Wei Gu Wei Shi Gang De Ben Dang De Hua Ma Lu Jung Wei Ne Pin Wang Ten Zhen Ge Zou Yi Xia Bei Si Jie Ba Du Den Yu Ji